My good fun and Melanine, and well met indeed. I'm Araki Galadurathan, and welcome back to the final episode of the Tournament of the Swan for Age of Empires 2. The tournament came to a conclusion with myself and Kaelin versus Timur and Upper Left Islander. So as before, everyone gets their home maps, and this is mine and Kaelin's. And this map is called Frigid Lake. And as you can see, it has a completely non-standard start. Your town centre begins in shallows in the middle of a lake, so you don't have any nearby berry bushes at all to speak of. You can fish from the fish, and then there's pigs instead of sheep, but that's just a map basis. And then in the centre of the map is another lake, which again has some food sources on it, but it is a very, very uncommon map to have chosen. We'll go into that in a bit in a moment. But I am playing as the Incas, and as ever, I am grey. So Upper this time has graciously taken the colour purple. But I'm playing as the Incas, and with the Incas at once upon a time were a fantastic tower rushing civ, but they were nerfed a little bit over the course of many years. And the tower rushing is still something that they do, but they don't do it with as much aplomb as they maybe did in the past, unfortunately. My ally Kaelin is playing in Cyan, and he's the Magyars, the Hungarians. Fantastically good and terribly good fun faction. Cavalry is very much their focus. Let's speed this up. Circling round, we come to Upper Left Islander, who's playing as the Portuguese. The Portuguese, they, of course, are an all-arounder faction. They don't do any one thing particularly well, but they do a little bit of everything. And then lastly, Timur, the real threat in the game today, is the Indians. So, with this absolutely... Oh, you do get berries, sorry. It's just that you can't put farms around your town centre. So, with this crazy map, can we pull it off? Now, you might be asking yourselves, Galu, why did you and Kaelin choose Frigid Lake? We took the view that Timur and Upper Left Islander, after having watched them in the semi-finals and in a few games before that as well, we fully expect to lose. So we need to shuffle the deck, as it were, and get some advantages. And the way we thought of to do that was to do something they would not expect at all. And that is what we've done. We chose a map that we thought there's no way they would have thought that this map is going to be used against them. We didn't practice on this map. We just gambled that they wouldn't know what to do on this map. And because we at least chose it, we'd have some idea of what to do. I then chose the Incas and have opted to go for a tower rush to try and deny Timur anything and everything, to try and do whatever I can to shut him out. Kaelin is walling himself in and going up for a scout rush, which is what the Magyars do very well. The Magyars get instant blacksmith attack upgrades, so they get a little boost in attack strength each age, because they get free attack bonuses that everyone else has to research. Clicking on the village is not going to show you, but everyone else has to research at a blacksmith, but the Magyars get it for free, as you can see there. So they get little spikes of strength every time they age up. So we've all hit the feudal age at 12 minutes in, and my towers have gone down on the edge there to deny Timur that gold pile. Obviously, he's got another one away to the north, but I've taken his primary gold pile away. My villagers were repairing the tower, but that seemed a little futile, so they move off to try and kill a few of the villagers. But we've lost one of our towers. It was a little too far forward. Villagers back into the barracks. Back into the tower and going on. Timur scouting me out with scout cavalry of his own, who do claim a few of my villagers. And Kaelin moving his scouts in as well to try and harass Upper. That does that little ding-dong tick. It did that in the previous games as well. I don't know what it is. Hopefully it won't continue, I don't know. But anyway, by the by. He's then moved over to help me in rushing Timur down. If he could get into the lumber camp. But alas, there's no way in. I've gone with another tower. Timur has countered with a tower of his own and has put villagers in it to take mine out. His scouts are lingering around on my side and they're moving in to deny me the gold. But I, in a move that I never normally do, actually planned ahead a little bit and blocked my gold miners in so that they'd be protected. Kaelin building something of a wall to protect himself. But Upper being left alone. Upper's walled himself in with palisades, but the tower push continues as much as we can. Even if for nothing else, it's denied him his gold, and at the moment he doesn't have any gold sources at all. Northern gold there. He's got one away far to the west, which he might go and use, but Kaelin's scouts are still knocking around. His scouts back in my base do kill a few of my villagers, but then I spec the villagers onto them to get them killed off. And my towers continue to attack the barracks at 1 damage a time, forcing Timur back and away from the front line. But of course, the key feature of Frigid Lake, as I've already mentioned, is you don't get the protection of your town centre around your farmers. So farmers have to go away and can be raided quite easily, which is what we're seeing here, as Timur is doing his best to raid right back at me. But I'm continuing to mine the stone, and he's trying to stop my stone mining production. Upper at the moment still just, in essence, booming, and he's the first going on to the castle age. I've moved my villagers around to try and then deny the wood as well, and we get a tower in. Kaelin gets his scouts in there, and a load of Timur's lumberjacks go down. So more villager losses for Timur, and I then start dropping down a barracks as well. Let's put our military in his base, keep the harassment going. We get some good cheeky little kills with the tower before Timur realises he's in range, and we do what we can. But his scouts continue to harass my villagers, as I just basically let my villagers die because I'm terrible at focusing on 2 areas at once. But the villagers do come back to fight them off, and we do finally manage to push them away. Timur's lumberjacks moving north and away from the tower line as we've got the barracks down. No one else on their way to Castle Age just yet. Upper, the only one with the luxury of Castle Age. He puts a castle in his own base to defend himself against any kind of strategy of this nature. As we then drop an archery range as well. The villagers head out. Aggressive villagers, who would have thought it? Kaelin then heads off to find the gold and denies them that gold as well. They still, and now with the towers I've placed, they can't get the gold in the western side of their base. We then put some archers out to try and continue to harass the village. We've got to just keep Timur pinned. That's our only hope here. And that's the play. I am also quite pinned because of how many villagers I've lost. But I'm keeping pressure on his base, whereas his pressure on my base has ceased. Finally. Upper still just booming away. Soon to actually come into the game. But at the moment, we haven't seen nor heard anything from him. Get out some archers to try and counter the spearmen. But he finally gets a market down to buy his way up to the castle age, and I'm sure Up is helping him as well. Kaelin hits the castle age as Timur then researches castle age with the gold he almost certainly just bought from the market. I now am the only one lagging considerably behind, despite the early aggression and the towers and the denial and all of the above. We do not manage to maintain, and unfortunately, by not squeezing the towers round over there, he does manage to get a gold pile up. Upper then pushes himself forward and castle drops Kaelin's line. And he starts mining the stone there, right outside his base. He then goes in with his unique unit, the organ gun, and starts hitting Kaelin at home. So Kaelin's forced to leave the war against Timur alone and moves himself out. Archers pop them in the watchtower and they start taking down the town centre. Another watchtower goes up. If I can't deny you your gold, I'm going to try and deny you your food. As Upper then pushes deep into Kaelin's base and is now taking down Kaelin's town centre with his organ gun horde. Kaelin comes back to repair it and transitions into knights, and away they go. The knights will make very short work of those organ guns. But the castle does obviously take some of the knights down. He does lose quite a few. And another castle going down from Upper, trying to squeeze out Kaelin in the alternative way. Oh, the mangonel being repaired quicker than my watchtower can destroy it. Always a sad sight to see. And then a ram comes down, and the ram is what spells possibly our end. But we do manage to get an Eagle Scout out. We've got some military going. I'm on my way to the castle age now. Farms at the back there, farms at the front there. Doing what we can, but I'm lagging behind. This aggression of this nature absolutely takes me out of the game. This is why I like diplomacy games. I cannot focus on home and away at the same time. I've never been good at that. Never been able to do it. And this is just more proof of that. My tower lines start getting pushed back as I hit the castle age. We still haven't even taken down that barracks even by this point. Very disappointing indeed. Upper continues his push through, and again more organ guns come. He does get the second castle down, so he's putting pressure on Kaelin there. Kaelin doing whatever he can to just stay alive, but at the moment Upper's insistence on taking out the town centre means that Kaelin's eco is not affected. Everyone's farming and mining and lumbering quite nicely. And we now have Timur. We have got him in his base still, but he's starting to get military out. And it's not looking good. Our tower's no longer really giving any threat, and my own base looking particularly weak. Second town centre coming up over on the edge there on the stone. Upper still pushing in and has the castles for protection when the knights try and push him back. And the cavalry makes very short work of any archers that I train up here. And all the while, unfortunately, our watchtowers do very, very little damage. We need to upgrade them at a university or some such, but we haven't done. And they aren't any good. Rams moving out on those towers, freeing up that gold, and fairly swiftly, all of our early work is undone. Timur now has an army. Timur now has a normal base. He's mined an awful lot of gold. He's managed to get back in for there. Upper's got Kaelin pressed up against the wire. Now that we're at the end of the tournament, like literally the last round, Upper by this point is very... he's not outrageously good, but by this time he is good. He's no longer the handicap that he was intended to be against what has proven to be the game's best player in the tournament. And so we're not up against one really good player and one really bad player here. We're now up against one really good player and one, like us, medium player, which puts the odds firmly against us. Upper then pushes forward with another castle as Timur maintains control over my tower pushes. We get some spearmen out, and we constantly are funneling troops into the towers, but it's costing us dear. We've only got a second town centre. Most people are on 3 or 4 now. We've only got 2. Because everything costs. But with a few archers and some pikes, we're able to just keep the enemy back, defend the few towers that we have. Timur does only have one other town centre, I suppose. But I'm sure the others are doing well. Although Upper, interestingly, has only built a single town centre. He hasn't even built a second. So he's gone all in on his castle strategy, whereas Kaelin is trying to boom his way through. But he has only got one other town centre as well, actually. No, I'm completely incorrect. I just assumed they would have more town centres by this point. So Kaelin can't help me with Timur at the moment because he has to help with Upper. But my forces keep putting pressure on Timur, so we are doing some things. Oh, and a town centre's coming up over there where the tower's been freed up. And he's flooding troops into that. And he's starting with his own force, ready to hit out and strike back. Cavalry archers coming out. My university finally goes up so that we could potentially upgrade our watchtowers. All of my troops basically doing nothing. Another watchtower goes down, and then we finally get a siege workshop. We're being kited by his cavalry archers. But we do get a siege workshop of our own. It's a little too late, and he's finally free onto that gold. And his third town centre is now up. Kaelin has still not been touched. His eco is still fine. So Upper's push hasn't actually damaged anything of Kaelin's eco, save he lost the town centre. But it does, of course, mean that Upper is at the moment safe in his own base. But again, as I say, he hasn't even bothered with the second town centre, which is a bit peculiar. But Timur finally sends his army back. Retribution calls. Who calls? Retribution. And he starts taking down my lumberjacks. And it's ages before I notice, and they all just die. But at the same time, my own force does move in. We start getting siege of our own out. Hitting what we can. Rams, towers. We do upgrade the towers to guard towers. We finally pull the lumberjacks back to the town centre. We pull our men back over there. Kaelin sends some of his own villagers over to my base as well, fearing Upper's strike on him. But Upper organ guns aren't going to take down a castle, not in a month of Sundays. So they really need something else. And of course, the Magyar Hussar has an attack bonus against siege. As you saw there, it's almost 2 hits to kill an organ gun. It's outrageous. Well, it's not really. It's about 3 or 4. But with the knights and the Magyar Hussars, they've got that rather penned up. Timur sends his cavalry round to find my farms and starts bringing those down. But my own troops again spreading out into Timur's base now. We're attacking back. We've got siege. We're dropping a castle at the back of his base. We're doing what we can, but he's going with troops to attack us. So it's a bit of a to and fro, back and forth. Towers in our own base with a not insubstantial amount of stone, and Timur's cavalry goes around to raid Kaelin as well. Kaelin sends his knights over to deal with those, as Upper's force is beaten back by the Night Horde, and Upper now doesn't really have an answer. He's still just... His base just looks so... just Build the town centre, man. What are you doing? Keeping up the raiding on Timur, though. We are getting some villagers down, but he's really going golden wood. Well, really going on gold. He's trying to hoover up that gold before he loses it. With our castle placed and Kamioks now trained as well, that first town centre will fall. We're able to finally actually take it out. And he brings back his cavalry archers to take down our rams. That's something you don't see every day. No, but we finally get that town centre. So he's reduced to 2 town centres, but he's still got the siege and he's got all this land up here now, of course. My pikes will fall rather easily to a horde of cavalry archers, which is a damn shame. And Upper hits the Imperial Age with Kaelin soon behind. Timur and I still not even researching it as yet, as we're both still dealing with the raiding of each other's bases. Castle going down in Timur's base to defend against the siege that I've been pumping out, and the pikes and the Kamioks and the archers and the whatnot. But we have got a castle in the back of his base, and we keep playing with this. We keep pushing siege out. Let's speed her up again. There we go. Kaelin hits the Imperial Age, and Timur comes again. The cavalry archers come again. And my wood line is targeted straight away. But this time we react, and our villagers go back. We only lose a couple. And we take down a couple of cavalry archers for our trouble, which I wouldn't say no to. We clear everything out of the back of his base, forcing Timur to keep pushing away around this side. But he has now harvested all the gold that we initially denied him. Oh, no. He's still got about half of it to go, actually. But we're doing what we can. Cavalry archers now don't have a target, so they're just stopping us from farming. Taking out our farms and denying us access to that area. So we start putting a wall up and we start transitioning to putting the farms around the new town centres. So Timur seeking out holes in our defences. The organ guns come for the castle, but it's not the organ guns now, it's the trebuchets that really do the work. But it's very, very much still anybody's game. It's kind of a game now that's either waiting for a masterstroke or waiting for a major fail. A major mistake. Kaelin loses his castle, but he's got cavaliers on the go on the side now, ready to go, and they're off to hit the cavalry archers. My base still, my attacking has been stalled somewhat, as we then focus on putting a wall around our base. We are going to stop the cavalry archers, and indeed we trap the cavalry archers and get them killed off. Perfect timing with the wall. Well done, if I do say so myself. We finally learnt to wall in our base. We only made it to the final before we realised it was a good idea to wall in your base. Rams go in to try and hit the castle, and he sends villagers to stop them, and then rams of his own, and we're not going to get that castle down. And then Timur hits the Imperial Age long before I could even dream of the Imperial Age. So we're going to have trebuchets attacking us in no time at all. Kaelin moves his force north, and we've now walled in that side entirely. His cavalry horde hits the organ guns, and Upper loses his attacking force once more. And a stalemated peace, falls upon the land. Timur's now built his base entirely into that eastern area, and I'm finally going to the Imperial Age, but we're going to get there way too late. And some trebuchets, methinks, will be arriving shortly. But we have at least walled ourselves in now. Another town centre down on that goal to defend it. Popping in a gate so that we can at least get in and out. And market trade becomes the order of the day. I am woefully out of gold. And Kaelin decides to ignore the castles outside his base and push in for Upper's eco. Takes out the town centre. And as we are now at this point in the game, you will realise that is still Upper's only town centre. Upper, despite the forward aggression and the seeming strength of his position, Upper has basically been taken out of the game with a single cavalry raid. Timur is forced to move his troops south to assist, and Upper flees off to desperately try and rebuild his base around the 3 castles he has, because they'll cover one another. And unfortunately, camels, of course, make very short work of the cavaliers. But this is the first game I think that we've been in that made it to the in-game hour mark. Kaelin brings skirmishers over to deal with the cavalry archers that we've previously seen and to try and deny this castle. And at that time, there we are. Timur now has his trebuchets out, and he just slowly takes down the base that I had built in the back of his own. But Upper has now been very heavily hit. He has rebuilt a town centre, but it's going to take him a long time to actually affect this game again. Kaelin strikes out at Timur with hordes of hussars. killing as many villagers as he can possibly kill. Timur desperately trying to boom, 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 boom to make up for the loss at the earlier stages of the game. But with the upper out of the game now, Kaelin can turn his full military might over to assist me. So I can act as the anchor. The anchor? I can act as the anvil, and Kaelin will act as the hammer. He takes out a lot of villagers in his raid. More raiding ensues. More hussars head off. He's going for villagers. He's killing villagers wherever he can. Unfortunately, there's a gap in our wall. A few scouts do make it through. But fortunately, we are lucky enough that Timur's not looking in the right direction. And they don't do too much damage. Swiftly acting to this indiscretion, we build a gate. We shan't let them through. And then we immediately chop that tree down, creating a problem for ourselves in the future. But Kaelin's horde has been beaten back. My base now completely removed. I had nothing to stop the trebuchet. I had no gold, no food. I'm worrying about being raided at home. I abandoned the base in the back of his own. Upper shifting all of his forces back into organ guns once again. Kaelin's base now sprawling, and Kaelin with the score. Can Kaelin shift the focus and the strength of this game enough to allow us to win it? Timur has a mighty horde there of cavalry and camelry, and he shall use both of them to stop the hussar raids that Kaelin has been undergoing. A trebuchet's come out from the castle there. They've spied my town centre. We put the villagers inside, but they're just no match for the number of troops there. And all of those villagers go down. Kaelin had a gap in the wall there, and the cavalry spy it, and in they come. My villagers pulling back, and we rapidly shift into halberdiers, desperate to deny this horde any kind of purchase. Upper sending his organ guns around the edges, seeing if he can finally actually affect Kaelin's eco. But the large horde moves in, but the halberdiers meet them, and we take down a lot with the halberdiers there. Hussars of Kaelin, and the force is swiftly reduced. Fantastic double teamwork. Our wall is taken down by trebuchets, and then we try and put a house up to block it, and then we move halberdiers in. The villagers go into the town centre, and it's now very much the halberdiers. We are now on the back foot. The original horde has been reduced to just 3 camels, and they're taken out by the hussars, but the secondary horde moves through as the halberdiers chase them. We then block the gap again with another house, which is taken down again. We now starting to get a lot of halberdiers out, and halberdiers versus hussars is not a matchup any player wants to see. So if I can keep the halberdiers up and we can keep Upper contained, we might just have this. I'm not going to even try and build a castle, because something that you can't see at the moment, because I've not flicked through this and we're not using capture age, but I don't have any stone, so a castle is way off the cards. So we have to go the old-fashioned way, and siege workshops go down, and the halberdier spam gathers together to cover the gap in our walls. Kaelin pushes back the remaining force that was attacking his side. Upper sends his organ guns north, and they're going to try and do a double assault. They're going to hit us together. I do, however, have food, and the upgrade to the cap rams with the halberdiers in support finally brings down the castle that has been clogging up our border. And halberdier and siege and cap rams, together are going to make the charge. And Timur then accepts his defeat, and we win! We win round 1. Yes! Oh, such joy. The denial of the gold, and the 2 points for me personally, with my lack of experience, it has to be said, are Timur, number 1, the map. Caught them completely off guard, particularly Upper. He had no idea what to do. He only had one town centre at the end of that. That was ridiculous. It caught Upper completely out, and it made Timur have to think outside the box, and in doing so, he was not expecting a tower rush. We denied him the gold, we denied the gold at the back, we denied the wood line, we kept him moving, and that was enough to stop him getting up to that steamroll power, and it allowed Kaelin to get up to that steamroll type power, and then when I could then actually defend myself with the walls and the like, with the halberdiers then countering the only thing Timur actually could throw at us, which is hussars, the halberdier and cap ram did what was necessary, and Timur saw the writing on the wall. And Upper being taken down earlier. Score-wise, there's the overalls. Military, Timur killed 408 and Kaelin killed 341. So many. I get nothing good. Economically speaking, Kaelin took the top spots as we'd expect. I didn't get a particularly large score, but I stopped Timur getting the eco that he needed. And so Kaelin was able to then boom and take the advantage there. There's the age up times. Society no one really cares about, but you can have a flick through if you like. And then finally the timeline. My small lines right till the end and then finally blossoming out. So, round 1 goes to Galu and Kaelin. We have a game on our hands. Who is going to take round 2? Welcome to the second round of the final of the Tournament of the Swan. And it is Timur and Upper Left Islanders' home map, Hill Fort. Hill Fort. And this is what you both start with. These ridiculous hill forts. As is clues in the name. You get fortified palisade walls. So it's a halfway house between a stone wall and a normal palisade wall. You start in really, really close together. And you've got a gold pile each, but then all of the other gold is mostly in the centre of the map. Although you will note that both Upper and Timur had gold behind their bases, whereas we only had the one pile to share between us. A bit cheeky. I am Grey once again, and I'm playing as the Ethiopians, Archer and Siege Civ. Particularly good archers early doors. They fire faster for free. Franks for Kaelin, obviously a classic knight Civ, and they also get cheaper castles. So if you like building castles, Franks are a good one. Although the upcoming DLC is going to make the Slavs something of a castle Civ, because their castles are going to be the cheapest in the game. In terms of stone. There's going to be a wood cost, but Slav castles are going to cost wood and stone instead of just stone, and their stone cost is going to be less than Franks. So if you like castles, well then, you probably wouldn't play as the Slavs anyway, because their castles aren't very good, but they're cheaper. Anyway, Timur is playing as the Cumans. We've seen him play as the Cumans in the second semi-final. And you saw the Knight Horde that he amassed and assembled against Erendel and Chris. And Upper is playing as the Saracens, hoping to give anyone who uses archers a little bit of a boost. Right, so let's speed through the early stages of this one, because once again, there's not much early aggression in a map like this, because you're both protected behind walls. Timur is going to try and get to the feudal age as quickly as humanly possible, and use his 2 town centres to boom himself up. So you will see him going to the feudal age almost certainly before anyone else, and there it is, clicks up around the 7-minute mark. Long before anyone else even is thinking of it. Kaelin and I haven't even got military buildings or anything down now, but it's the Cuman strat to go feudal, so it's expected. It is expected. He moves his second town centre out to the back where the gold just happens to be and starts gathering wood. He must have a very specific Cuman build order that just follows to the letter. Kaelin and I go for some scouting for now, just to find the enemy and see what we can see. I'm going for archery ranges. We're going to try and archer rush our enemies. Kaelin's going to scout. I'm going to send archers. And over they go. And the aggression can begin. And they are immediately met with a fortified palisade wall. And very swiftly, Timur just blocks us off with houses. Villagers try build the wall away from the wall, so my archers can't actually stop them. My archers can't get close enough to deny the villagers the buildings that they're building, and he blocks himself in with houses all around. We managed to bring down the palisade gate, but beyond that, we then run into more of nothing. We're then blocked in. So off we go again. We move over to hit Upper, but Upper has specced into archers as well, and it is looking grim for our assault. Timur builds a watchtower to deny that space there. But we are now all feudal, so we've all hit the feudal age, obviously. You can't get archers in the dark age. So we're just trying to keep the pressure up, but at the moment we're not really doing anything. They are quite content to let us attack that palisade gate. Upper then also blocks off the gate on that side, and then he blocks the gate on the eastern side as well. All the while, Timur still just booming, and the two of them are going to hit Castle Age at the same time. Timur then goes into the strat that you might expect, and his stables are being dropped down. There's 4 stables straight away. As soon as he hits Castle, they're ready to go, as Upper has managed to get up to the Castle Age in the same sort of time. They move around to try and hit them at the back there, and We now have a horde of archers and scouts and nothing to do with them. I have an archery range at the front line, some houses on the front line. Our eco's not doing too badly, but Timur is flooding up, and now his knights are assembling. So he's got 4 knights out, and 4 more come. They make very short work of the scouts, and then they kill off every single one of my archers. And just like that, all of our aggression is undone, and Timur's knights come at us. You might be thinking, how many knights is that? Well, that's 12. Sorry, that's 12 there, and there's 2 more coming in. They kill my forward villagers, take out my outpost, denying me the sight range. Kaelin gets up to the castle age. I'm on my way to the castle age, and the knights arrive at his base. They sit outside for a while, and then they take down the palisade gate. He moves in and builds houses as well, and the knights are denied for a time, and they start taking down the houses as more knights, and then Saracen crossbows arrive, who do more damage against buildings, and the entire army floods in. Kaelin builds a few Frankish knights to try and counter them, but as you'll notice, they've all died. I then try and build a castle to defend. Anything we can do. And we realise the game is over and we GG. Right, so what did we do wrong there? You'll be asking yourself. Well, you won't be. You'll be just crying out loud. Kaelin admitted after the game he had no idea that these were fortified palisade walls. So the Scout Rush was just not the play. This is very much like an arena game, and Scout Rush was a terrible, terrible idea. But for my own part, I feel so frustrated that I didn't do something different, that I went along with Kaelin. This is somewhere where you should be more confident if you actually do think you have something to say. Because I don't think the Archer Rush or the Scout Rush was ever going to work. But Kaelin is so much better than me that I was willing to believe that he thought that should work. I didn't know that he didn't know this map. I didn't know that he hadn't seen what I had seen. And that is that Timur and Upper used this map earlier in the tournament, and they did this exact strategy to somebody else. So I knew they were going to do it, and I foolishly, a lack of communication on my part, I foolishly did not talk to Kaelin about that, and I assumed he knew they were going to as well, and I therefore assumed his plan was the best course of action. But had I known that he had no idea they were going to do the Night Rush thing, or the Night Horde as I like to think of it, and also had I known that he had no idea what this map was, I wouldn't have gone along with the Archer Rush, Scout Rush. I mean, we probably still would have lost, but we would have tried something else. If I'd known he was going to go with that many knights, my gut instinct would have been to just go with a load of pikemen. One of us to just go with pikemen. At least catch him off guard in that regard, or something to try and counter the Night Horde that we knew was coming. So a bit disappointing, but we lost very, very, very quickly. So the game has gone on to a round 3. But before we see that, let's just have a look at the scores. Timur all the way through, as you'd expect. Same again, units killed more than anyone else. 39 this time, opposed to the 400 last time. Economically, it was Timur all the way, but I got the most stone for the castle at the end there. And there's the timings, not even hitting the Imperial Age. So it moves to game number 3 then, for the decider. Right. Welcome to the final round of the final round of the Tournament of the Swan. It is once again Hideout, which for many of you watching along will only have seen this map actually a few times. But for us playing it, felt like we had seen this map so much, particularly if you, like me, had watched a lot of the other games. And I dread to think how many times Matt's had to watch Hideout, because he watched every game. But anyway, this time I'm playing as the Sicilians, the Donjon Masters. My ally my ally Kaelin is in yellow, and he's on the western edge, and he's playing as the Mayans and Archer Civ. Upper left islander is in blue, and he's on the southern side as the Koreans. Archers and Siege again. And then lastly, Timur is playing as the Poles, a cavalry Civ. So let's speed through the early stages and see what everyone's going to do. Scouting is the first thing that everyone likes to do. We discover that I'm the one that's up against Timur. Timur has a lot of space between his wall and his base. A bit disappointing. Right. So it's just a standard start for everyone. Gathering herdables, gathering resources, hiding behind the walls. So you can see there, a palisade wall has half the health of a fortified palisade wall. So that's the difference from the last map to this one. Kaelin on his way to Feudal Age, me on my way to Feudal Age, Timur on his way to Feudal Age, and Upper the only one not there. Kaelin hits first. And hasn't got any military to speak of. So there's no rush coming in from here, but I am going for the Sicilian Rush. And the donjon, the first tower is down. The villagers start attacking the wall. And we are completely blocked in immediately by houses. We send out more, and they're killed by the watchtower as we build the donjon. We realize that's not going to do anything, so we try and move around. And we are denied access over there. So we have 2 donjons built on the edge of the base. They do deny that gold at the moment. So we've managed to get through enough to stop that gold. We get some sergeants out as well. And they move forward to try and build another donjon on the southern side. Kaelin has sent a couple of archers over to help. And they are pushing into the villages. We get through the line and we drop another donjon in the back there. Kaelin has pushed his archery range into my base and is sending archers forward. But Timur has just gone castle as quickly as possible and gets a castle down right in his base. We take down the watchtower, but we can't take down the castle. The sergeants move in, but don't take out any eco. All the while, Upper is free to boom away in his base. Kaelin's still sending archers out to support me, but the Polish castle goes down. And the Polish castle shreds donjons, unfortunately. Whilst they look very imposing, donjons in the early game are not much better than watchtowers. Their unique feature is that they can train sergeants. That is their strength. So our push has been ground down to a halt almost immediately, and Upper moves himself out to come up to Kaelin. Send his peasants right round the back. Don't know where he's off to. Kaelin still has his military in my base and a few houses. And Upper builds a castle right outside Kaelin's base on the far side to deny us access to one another. There's no trade flowing between us. My donjon rush this time has not succeeded at all. Only one donjon remains standing. We denied him gold for a short time, but that has been it. He just traded gold on the market and didn't need it. We try and build another donjon at the back of his base. Kaelin's archers come in to deal with the Obuch. But the watchtower takes down the donjon. We pull back and try and build one a little further back. All of the while we're doing this, though, it's denying us, and we're the only ones not in Castle Age. The rush requires so many resources. It's so all or nothing, and unfortunately, in this instance, it's nothing. The war wagons of Upper have broken through and are now hitting Kaelin's eco. And more wagons flood in to assist as my push then becomes nothing. He kills the sergeant in the donjon I had at the back, and now I just have a single donjon and a small group of archers. While Upper uses the time that Kaelin took to try and help me with Timur to take down Kaelin's villagers and all of their eco. A town archery range goes up, but it costs him so many peasants. I mean, I should call them villagers, really, shouldn't I? But I always think of them as peasants. And we GG. We GG when it's apparent that Kaelin is not coming back from that. And there you go. After the first game, which was such a high, an hour of time, we beat Timur, only to then be steamrolled twice in a row. And unfortunately, at the end of this one, our fears were realized. Timur said that he had actually also watched many of the games, and he knew exactly that I was going to try and donjon rush him. So he prepared for it. He expected I would choose Sicilians before the game even started, because of course when you're in the lobby you don't see the other people's team, so you can't counter pick. But he expected I was going to try and do the Sicilian donjon rush after we did it against MacLeod in the semi-final 1, if you will remember. So he expected it, so he went Poles on purpose. Poles, of course, gather gold whilst they gather stone, which means that despite the fact I denied him that gold there, it made no odds because the stone at the back was earning him gold anyway. And he just tanked it out. He knew it was coming and he built houses appropriately. So we never got up any strength or steam. Kaelin's archers weren't able to affect the game in any great way. And Upper used the opportunity to just sneak round, drop a castle, and then build war wagons. And there you go. Timur and Upper won the tournament. And there's the stats at the end. Military speaking, Upper killed the most with his push. I didn't kill a single unit in the end. Economically speaking, nothing at all from my part. Oh, I got the most stone. Yep-de-doo. But you'll see that Timur was only shortly behind me. And he managed to get more... all that gold without even mining a gold pile. That's outrageous. Technology is all there. Society, again, no one cares about. And then there's the timeline. Flat lines, because we all just GG'd. And there you go. The tournament concludes. I do hope that you have enjoyed watching the tournament back. But after this, unless we do another tournament I might cover in the future, but after this we're going to go back to diplomacy games. So that's your last Age of Empires video for this week. Next week, and I mean after the DLC releases, we're going to do some diplomacy games where everyone has to choose one of the new DLC factions, and I shall release those DLCs. I'll cover them for the channel again because I love the diplomacy games, and I'm pleased to get back to it. But for now, thank you so much for watching, if indeed you have. Feel free to come and join us in the Discord in the link below if you would like to play in these types of games. Feel free to please let me have your thoughts on the game, on what you've seen, on things that you would have done, you might have done differently, anything like that. I'd love to know. But until we speak again, dear friends, Navaher Neden Perimad Melunin, and farewell.